Hey guys, Doug May here with That Audio Guy. So this is the last video in the Omnisphere 2 video series. What we're going to do is go through the utility menu right here, and then after that we're going to go through the browser. Before we get into that, let's talk really quickly about the midi learn function in Omnisphere. So what midi learn allows you to do is to assign controllers or knobs on your MIDI controller to different parameters in Omnisphere. Let me give you an example of what I'm talking about. If I right click on this cutoff knob, and then I do MIDI CC learn, and then turn one of the CC knobs on my controller, now they're attached, and whenever I make changes to the controller, it's going to make changes to the cutoff knob. Now that we've talked about that, let's go into the utility menu. So at the top right here, you'll see this MIDI learn and automation. And when you go into this window, you'll see some different options for the MIDI learn function. What you can do with saving templates is if you find yourself consistently using the same knobs or controllers to control certain parameters, for example this cutoff, if I'm always using the same knob for that, then what I can do is save that template once I've set it up, and then I can come into this load template and load that back in. I don't have to reset all of those things every time I open Omnisphere. If I click unlearn next MIDI device, what that means is the next controller or knob that I move on my keyboard, it's going to unlearn all of the assignments that I've made with that. So for example, we already made the assignment to this cutoff. You can see that it's working. If I come into the utility, then come to unlearn next MIDI device, and I move that controller, now I'm no longer controlling the cutoff with that. Unlearn next parameter works in the same way, except that it's going to unlearn the parameter that I make a change to next. So I could have done it one of two ways. I could have done it the way I just showed you, or let's go ahead and reassign this. So now that's assigned. I could do this. I could do unlearn next parameter, and instead of moving my controller, I can move the cutoff, and now everything attached to that is going to be unlearned. One thing I should say about this MIDI learn function is that anytime I make an assignment, that assignment is specific to the part that I'm in and the input channel that I'm on. The way around that is to use these three functions right here in the utility menu. This make MIDI learned controls Omni, clone part 1 MIDI learns, and clone part 1 MIDI learns and make Omni functions. Let me give you an example. So we assigned our cutoff right here to our controller, this knob on my controller. If I go to part 2, you can see that I can't control that cutoff anymore. What I can do is come to the utility menu and then hit this clone part 1 MIDI learns and make Omni function. And then when I hit OK, now I can control the cutoff in part 2 with that same knob. In fact, I can control all of these parts with that same controller on my keyboard. And then from this menu as well, you can unlearn all of the MIDI assignments that you've made by clicking this right here. Let's assign that cutoff again. And then if you ever find yourself wondering what your assignments are because maybe you've made so many that you've forgotten, what you can do is come to this menu right here, and if you hit this show current assignments, it'll pull up a window in your browser. And let me pull it over here so you can see it. And you can see that this filter cutoff has been assigned to CC20, which is that knob I turned on my controller when I made that assignment. Really cool if you've forgotten where your assignments are. And then this right here, this ignore assignments when loading multi, this is something that I can toggle on and off. And what that means is if I've made assignments to some of these and I want to keep those assignments when I load a new multi, then I'll need to make sure that this is unchecked, because if it's checked, it's going to ignore all of those assignments that I've made every time I load a new multi. So those are some of the things you can do with the MIDI learn function in Omnisphere. If you look down here, you'll see options for the multi, options for the patch or part, and then options for the layer. And these all work in a similar way. The difference between initialize and clear is that when you initialize something, it reverts back to a default state that you've previously set up. When you hit clear, it's going to just return it back to an empty state. So you can initialize or clear multis, initialize or clear patches, initialize or clear layers. This is really handy. In fact, I use this clear multi option right here all the time. If I want to just completely reset the entire plugin back to its default state, I'll just hit this clear multi and then I can start from scratch again. And then you've also got some options here where you can copy these parts and paste them into different parts. And you can do the same thing with layers. Adding sounds allows you to add different patches from other users. So if I have a friend that has Omnisphere and he's created some really cool patches, then I would go there to add those patches into my own library. And then user audio is where you can upload your own audio, and we saw that function in one of the earlier videos where you could bring your own audio into Omnisphere and then start making changes to it. Here you can reset the defaults and preferences. You can save the whole state of the plugin, the multi, as the default multi. And then you've got links to the reference guide for Omnisphere and then other video tutorials. So that's the utility menu. So now let's take a look at the browser in Omnisphere. So again, you can tell which browser you're in by the title right here. You're either going to be in the patch browser, the sound source browser, or the multi browser. At this point, you're probably really familiar with how the browser looks, but let's just go through some of the cool features. One thing that I think is really cool is you can actually create projects. And you can do that by clicking this create project right here. And what that allows you to do is it allows you to build a bank of certain sounds that are they're attached to a certain project. So say for example, I'm scoring a film and I've got all these sounds that I've created to give a tone to that film, and they're all kind of in the same mood or tone. I can keep those in the same project. And then if I'm working on the film score, I can just go into that project and then I've got the bank of sounds that I've created right there. Some of the coolest features in the browser in Omnisphere are going to be this sound match feature right here, and then also this sound lock, and let's talk about those. So what you can do with the sound match feature is if you find certain sounds that you like, say for example we have this bass that we like, if we click sound match and then select this and then hit this match current selection, what it's going to do is it's going to pull up similar sounding patches in Omnisphere. So maybe let's try this one. You can see that it has kind of the same rhythm to it. And what Omnisphere is doing is it's taking some of the characteristics and attributes of that sound that I like, and it's finding other sounds that share a lot of those same characteristics. It'll put the other patches that are matched most strongly at the top of this list. And then something else you can do to narrow your search even further is use this sound lock function right here. So say I like this sound because of the arpeggiator. I can hear that rhythm, and that's what I like about this sound. What I can do is come up to this sound lock and I can lock that characteristic, the arpeggiator. What it's going to do now is it's only going to match other sounds that share that same arpeggiated rhythm. So we can click on this and check it out. You can hear that these have really similar rhythms. And I can even lock more than one attribute if I want. I can lock the arpeggiator and I can lock the filters. I can do both. And then when I search again, it's only going to pull up things that share that same rhythm and the same filter settings. So this is a really cool way to browse for sounds that you're looking for. If you find something that you like and there's certain attributes about it that you like, you can use this sound lock feature to speed up your searching. It's a really convenient tool. I think it's amazing. So those are just some of my favorite features in the browser in Omnisphere. That's it, you guys, for the Omnisphere 2 video series. I really hope that you've had as much fun with Omnisphere as I've had, and I've really enjoyed making these videos and helping you guys understand some of these concepts. Honestly, this synthesizer is one of my favorites. It's extremely powerful. I find myself coming back to use Omnisphere over and over again because it's just so good. I really hope that at this point you guys are comfortable with Omnisphere and that you feel like you're at a point where you can start to be more creative and design your own sounds. And hopefully these principles will help you make better music or better sound design or whatever it is that you're doing. Make sure to check out the website itsthatAudioguy.com because we have lots of other concepts that we go over in videos. I can promise you that if you're trying to make your music sound better, that the website's the place to be. Again, thanks for watching these videos, you guys. It's been a real pleasure, and I hope to see you in the next video series.